Hello, everyone. Today's question is from Laura. Her Instagram handle is Living Wild Awake. And she asked, there's a few questions on top. So I'll read it all and then we'll go one by one. So I'm loving these videos and the creative reset. How do you determine what you share on stories versus reels? Do you consistently share reels to stories? Do reels do well on Facebook, or is it better to repurpose the reel as a static post on Facebook? I don't get as much traction on my Instagram posts or carousel posts, so I stick to reels. Thoughts on static versus carousel posts versus reels versus stories? Thank you. Okay, so great question. And I'm sure it's something that a lot of people wonder. Um, I think when it comes to content and to where to post it and where it'll perform better, it will always be kind of a mysterious formula. But let's go through each part of the question. Okay, so the first part, how do you determine what you share on stories versus reels? So stories is interesting. Most people know by now that it only lasts for 24 hours unless you create a highlight and make it, a permanent part of your page. But when I was using Snapchat, Snapchat was also a very transient place where nothing that you created lived on beyond 24 hours. And I think that taught me how to post in the moment, whatever's top of mind randomness. Back then, I spent a lot of time alone. Like I was traveling solo, I was navigating building a personal brand, I was building up my travel blog. So it almost felt like my stories back then, Snapchat, was like my escape or my way of connecting with community and friends who actually were interested in what I was doing. If I tried to talk about my life or my pursuits to real life friends, it's not that they didn't care, but I don't think they understood to the degree that I was trying to accomplish certain goals. So what's nice is that your stories or Snapchat back then was a place where people were consciously opting in to invest in whatever it is that you were sharing journey wise. So with Reels, there feels to be like a pressure for something to perform really well. With stories, there's no pressure for anything to perform. It's just a place where you get to share a part of who you are. And there's a woman, I'm gonna quickly find her name because I believe her name is Shannon. And I want to make sure I get her Instagram handle well, right? Because she shares a lot of really incredible tips about just content format, what goes in your stories, how to hook people, all that stuff. So yeah, her name is Shannon McKinstry. So I'll just spell out her username, Shannon, then McKinstry, Shannon McKinstry. So she's a social media strategist, and a lot of her content is literally like, what do you post in stories? What do you post on feed? And I think something that she shared that really resonated with me regarding stories is that every day she greets her community. Like, no matter what's going on, no matter what she plans to post, the first story post she makes is just like a hi, a selfie, maybe with coffee, just like, what's up, everyone? Happy Monday, like just bringing people in. And then the second post she does is either social proof or something about her business. So sharing like a breakthrough that a client has had or something related to, I don't know, a breakthrough that someone in her, one of her clients got or something that's happening in her business. It could also be something linking to an offer. And then the third post is like random. It could be, time with her kids, going on a walk and seeing a beautiful sunset. So she said if you only posted 3 stories a day to try to stick with that formula, so like a selfie greeting your audience, something business related, and then something personal and random. And it kind of touches on all points of like building trust, building connection, building likability and relatability. And I think that was a great framework. I'm not someone that can always follow frameworks because I tend to be more in the moment and sporadic. But if that helps you, Laura, I say you should run with it or at least try it. I've talked about in the past how the way to increase visibility on stories is to post one frame at a time. Now, this is not a daily strategy, but if you are wanting to maximize views on a single story frame, maybe you're launching something or announcing something, you post one story and nothing else for 24 hours. Like let it expire and then just post that one frame. And what that's going to do is bump your name, your like little story bubble. It's going to bump you to the front of the line because Instagram is tricky, okay? What they're saying is if we want to get people to stick on the app, we want to, heighten that dopamine effect. So if all these people, so they're pushing all the people with one story frames to the top of the line. So what's going to happen is because people who are viewing stories, once one person's story is done, it automatically starts the next person's story. So imagine you have 10 people who have one frame stories, and it's like Instagram is playing you all of their days back to back to back to back. What are you going to do? Be sucked in and be like, oh, oh, interesting. Okay, what she's, I haven't seen her in a long time. Oh, wow, what's she, oh, okay. I didn't know that she was doing that. Oh, good for her. Wow, and you're going to literally be, each person that comes across, you're going to be, your brain is going to open up a loop of like, oh, cool, when did this happen? Or when's the last time I spoke to them? Or this is cool, let me check. You're going to be asking all of that. And so, anyways, it keeps you more engaged on the app, which is what Instagram wants, of course. So yeah, that works really well, but it's not good for a daily strategy. So I would say if you're posting to stories 5 days a week, I would say two of those days can be one story stories. The terminology sucks, I'm aware. Okay, okay, so determining what to share, stories versus reels. If there is something that you want to be a part of your brand story, you absolutely should share it as a reel or to your feed. What's interesting is sometimes I've shared something to my stories that got a lot of traction, comments, messages, engagement, and then I later on bring it to my feed. So if you're someone, Laura or anyone else, who is testing out different types of content, you can share it to your story and then say, oh, if it got a lot of likes, maybe that's a good sign. Let me go ahead and bring it down to my feed so that more people can see it. Because chances are people are going to see, well, your feed is a permanent place. Your stories will expire in 24 hours. So most people will miss whatever you're posting in your stories, which is why I don't want you to take it that seriously. Like, yes, be creative. Yes, put in some effort, but try not to overthink what you're posting in your stories. And the people that look the most natural or that aren't trying the hardest are probably the ones that are getting the most success in terms of like viewership and just comfortability. Talk to the camera, just be like, hey, y'all, made it to Bali, la la la. And you're just kind of, saying whatever you want. I recently did a story sequence where I posted maybe 20 stories in a day, which I rarely do. It's a lot. But I was leaving a couples retreat in Croatia and traveling to Bali, where I am now. And there was just so much. It was just such a good day. When you just have a good day, you just want to share your good day. And just like lots of great customer service, lots of random downloads and insights. I was just in my little introvert bubble, but I wanted to bring people inside of my bubble because I was having so many thoughts and emotions. And usually travel days can be hectic and crazy, but I was like really, for some reason, really proactive, really ahead of schedule, which is just not normal for me and my ADHD. So I felt like it gave me a lot of creative capacity to just share, what was going on and what my day looked like. And sometimes I think if you are someone who's running a business, it is beneficial to show people the behind the scenes, whether it's a travel day or you just like working from home. I think sometimes people just want to see what, I don't know, what your day is like. It could be interesting for someone who lives a very opposite life. And the reason like documentaries are so popular on musicians or superstar athletes is because we see the highlight reel and we see them go out on the field or go out on stage and like have a knockout performance. But do we see the day-to-day grind and hustle and discipline and dedication? And like that's what makes us respect them more because we recognize most people couldn't show up that committed and couldn't be that persistent with a dream. So I don't know, it like heightens people's respect for you when you show them the behind the scenes. Okay. And with reels as well, I think you want to always make sure that what you're sharing as a reel is something that either adds to your brand awareness, or your like public persona. So if I'm someone that's trying to build a brand around, I don't know, teaching people how to train their dogs, like first time dog owners, teaching them how to train them. Um, I want to share reels that are like helpful, like on my page. I wouldn't hide that in my stories because people might not be able to see it or find it. But reels have the power to generate views and followers for now it's like up to 8 weeks. It's very strange. But if you've ever noticed that a reel will come on your feed and it'll be posted like 2 months ago and it's still getting traction. So the algorithm, which Instagram has admitted to not knowing how to tame right now, like it's such a beast and it has so much math behind it that Instagram no longer knows how to undo it. And so it just continues to feed it new math. So that said, there are parts that are just don't make sense. So usually one reel has a 72-hour lifespan where it'll keep showing it to new followers. But what I think is happening now is when reels start to get random traction because it's shared on a Reddit thread or something, then Instagram's like, oh, yeah, we'll keep pushing it to the front of people's pages or people's feeds. And so it has this like resurgence. So yeah, reels are interesting because it prioritizes followers. If you are posting carousel posts, that's like that prioritizes trust, but Reels prioritizes like awareness and followers to new people. And do I always share Reels to stories? Yeah, like if I'm posting, I tend to post, you know, almost, I'll say I post 7 times a week, but that doesn't mean I post every day. Does that make sense? I am averaging one post a day, but I'm not posting daily. So on Wednesday, I most might post 3 times. On Tuesday, I didn't post at all. Thursday, I didn't post anything. Friday, I post 4 times. I don't know, but it always balances out to where I'm posting daily. So if I, let's say, have a day where I share 2 or 3 posts, I'm not going to share all 3 of those posts to my stories. Maybe 1 or 2, and then the next day I'll share it to see which post didn't get the most traction. I'll share it to my stories. Because a lot of times the way I discover people's new posts is through their stories. So believe it or not, like sharing your posts or your reels to your stories really does help with reach and viewership. Okay, do reels do well on Facebook, or is it better to repurpose the reel as a static post? I would absolutely encourage you to repurpose reels on Facebook. So right now, Facebook is making a resurgence in how they are rewarding creators and people that are posting. I was recently given another notification where it's like, here's the literal breakdown. Okay. I have to post 10 times on Instagram, 20 times on Facebook. Yeah. So it's like a joint thing. So you have to have an Instagram page linked to a Facebook fan page. And 20 times per month on Facebook, Reels, and Instagram. I need to post 10 reels on Instagram within a 30-day span. And with that, the first level of the bonus, the creator bonus, is like 300 US dollars. And I know this is not something to run to the bank about, but I always tell people like use social media money as play money until it pays your mortgage because it absolutely will. And there are so many new every day, every day, every month, every year, like more and more digital millionaires are made through social media. So do not sleep on the opportunities to just use content as a way to leverage income. So yeah, I would absolutely encourage you to post Facebook Reels, repurpose it, or create different ones. But absolutely, Facebook Reels are going to be the new way to monetize. She said, okay, I don't get much traction on my Instagram posts or carousels, so I stick to Reels. Yeah, I mean, here's the thing. There's never going to be the same amount of traction or viewership with both because carousels and posts, they're prioritized for people that are already following you, whereas Reels are prioritized to be shared with strangers. So the engagement is always going to be different. And what I've learned and what I started doing is if my carousels are only going to be mostly shared within my community, then how do I make them shareable? You catch that? Okay, so started using my carousels to share my top words. Like I would have a lot of downloads and words and threads specifically. I also encourage you to use threads. I think it's a great thought dumping platform. Back when Twitter was really active, I used to I used to use Twitter as a place to test my content ideas. And if it got traction on Twitter, I would then make it into a visual content format for Instagram. So now what I'm doing with Threads is I'm just like testing out ideas, and whatever ones get the most traction, I put them in a carousel post on Instagram. So even though carousels are only shared with my community, because the words are so powerful, people then share it to their stories. So oftentimes, my carousel posts, if they have like 50,000 views, then 20,000 will be from like non-followers because of all the shares that those words get. So try to make carousel posts shareable so that they do reach people beyond your community. All right. And the final part, um, any thoughts on, yeah, I mean, overall, Laura, I think you have to do a little bit of everything. I kind of liken it to someone saying, okay, tell me what to eat so that I can be really healthy. And no trainer or nutritionist is going to say, okay, only eat fruit. Like just eat fruit every single day and that's it. They're not going to say just eat vegetable. There's going to be a balance, like get your protein, get your fruits, get your fiber, get your protein. I already said that. Get your vegetables, get your nutrients, drink your water. There's going to be a combination of everything for a well-rounded and balanced diet. And I think that's the same approach that you have to have with Instagram. A little bit of carousels, a little bit of static posts, a little bit of reels, a little bit of stories, a little bit of live, a little bit of everything. And it might sound overwhelming. And it's not that you have to do everything all the time daily. It's just when you have capacity. Until you get to a point where you can kind of automate some of it. Let's say you're batching like all of your reels, you're creating one day of the month. That's literally why I started doing these like boot camps with the Life Leap, but also with my community. It's like, let's come together in a villa and create 3 months of content in 3 days so that for the next 2 to 3 months, you don't have to worry about creating anything. You could just edit and post. And that frees up capacity to actually show up and serve in your business. Think about deeper ways to create new offers, make more money. But the marketing part, unfortunately, is the most important part of running a business. It doesn't matter how good you are if people can't find you and people can't pay you. So, people, I think in 2025 and 2026, will start to understand how much marketing really matters in their business. So, social media is not just this place where we're tap dancing for the algorithm anymore. It's an actual viable distribution channel where we get to show people, what we can do and how we can help them. And I think it's an amazing tool. And I've been a proponent for social media for over 20 years. So I just love what it's been able to afford me. And yeah, this is why I make these videos because I think you don't have to love it, but I think when you see it for what it is, you'll understand and appreciate that it's better than paying for ads, honestly. But yeah, that was a great question, Laura. For those that are new here, be sure to like and subscribe. I also have a creative clarity playlist for entrepreneurs. Here we go. Check those out. Like, just sit through and like let these videos play in the background because I promise you, you will learn more in one video than you probably could in an entire course. I made these so digestible and conversational so that it feels like you're just talking with a friend who happens to be dropping gems after gems after gems. And I put stories in there too so that you all can learn from my failures. My journey through entrepreneurship has not been easy, clear, and like clean cut. So much of what I know and have done, I had to pioneer and create my own path because there was no blueprint for the type of freedom that I was after. And I think when you understand, wait, this is what I actually want in life, you can start to zone in on that and like drop all the other distractions. Okay. In the video description, there's also mycreativereset.com, which is like 90 days of coaching, like having me in your pocket for 50 cents a day. I think it's an incredible offer, and it's probably the one that I'm the most proud of because it's given people the most amount of breakthroughs for like the lowest amount of money. So check it out, and I will see y'all tomorrow. Bye.